Fellas, let's have an honest conversation. When a woman is truly interested in you, you won't be left in the dark wondering how she feels. You'll know. Her words, her actions, her energy, they'll all be in sync, and you'll feel her presence even when she's not around. But when she's not into you, the signs are just as clear, if you're willing to see them. The problem is, most men don't want to see them. We convince ourselves she's just busy, she's shy, or she'll come around. We keep chasing, hoping, and overthinking. And in the process, we waste time, lose confidence, and sometimes even forget our own worth. The truth? A woman who's not into you is doing you a favor. She's showing you that she's not the right one for your energy, your time, or your future. And the sooner you can recognize that, the sooner you can redirect your focus to someone who values you the way you deserve to be valued. So in this session, we're going to break down 10 clear signs she's not interested. Signs that, once you learn them, will keep you from chasing dead ends and help you show up with strength and clarity in your relationships. Comment below. What part of today's affirmation, what you think, you become, resonated with you most deeply? Why do you think it struck a chord? Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you're serious about changing the way you think and showing up as your highest self every single day, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss your daily mental reset. Comment below. What part of today's affirmation, what you think, you become, resonated with you most deeply? Why do you think it struck a chord? Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you're serious about changing the way you think and showing up as your highest self every single day, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss your daily mental reset. Chapter 1. The Trap of Endless Giving. At first, it feels noble. You give because you have more than enough, or because you remember the pain of having nothing. You give your time, your energy, your attention, your resources. And for a while, you feel proud of it. You feel human. But here's the hidden trap. When you become a constant giver, you unintentionally train people to see you not as a person, but as a resource. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." If you do not decide who you are, the world will decide for you. And if all they see is a giver, then a giver is all you will ever be to them. The danger is not that kindness is wrong. The danger is that kindness without boundaries creates expectation. People stop seeing your actions as a favor and start seeing them as an obligation. They no longer thank you, they simply wait for you to perform, like a machine that is supposed to function on demand. This leads to exhaustion, the slow erosion of your energy, your joy, and even your sense of self. When you cannot say no, your yes loses its meaning. In the end, the endless giver finds themselves in an invisible prison, trapped by their own generosity. They gave to be loved, respected, or valued, but instead, they became a supplier for the comfort of others, while their own needs went unnoticed. And here's the truth you must accept. You can give without losing yourself, but only if you remember that you are not a bottomless well. Protect your waters, or one day, you will go to draw from them and find them dry. Chapter 2. The Illusion of Universal Goodwill. Kindness often carries with it a hidden assumption that if you treat people well, they will treat you well in return. It's a beautiful belief, but it is also dangerously naive. Lao Tzu wrote, "When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you." But the unspoken reality is, not everybody will. There are people who see kindness not as a gift, but as an opening, an opportunity to take advantage. In their eyes, your compassion is weakness, your patience is passivity, and your willingness to help is a signal that they can push boundaries without resistance. The ancient strategist Sun Tzu warned in The Art of War, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." While life is not always a battlefield, the same principle applies. You must understand that not everyone you meet will play fair. Kindness can blind you. It can make you assume a shared morality that simply doesn't exist in everyone. And once you believe everyone operates under the same moral compass as you make yourself an easy target for those who don't. In time, the overly trusting kind person discovers that their good intentions are not universal currency. Some will take the gift and return nothing. Others will twist your generosity into a tool for their own gain. The danger is not in showing kindness, but in assuming kindness alone is enough to navigate the world. It is not. Kindness must walk hand in hand with awareness. Otherwise, you are like a candle placed in the wind. Warm, glowing, but vulnerable to the slightest breath from those who wish to see you extinguished. Comment below. What part of today's affirmation, "What you think, you become," resonated with you most deeply? Why do you think it struck a chord? Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you're serious about changing the way you think and showing up as your highest self every single day, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss your daily mental reset. Chapter 3. The Weight of Invisible Debts. Kindness has a strange way of creating a debt, even when you never intended it to. Every act of generosity plants a seed in the mind of the receiver. Some feel gratitude and nurture that seed. Others let it rot, allowing resentment to grow in its place. It seems illogical. How could someone resent you for helping them? Yet history and psychology prove this truth. People don't always like to feel indebted. Your act of kindness, instead of inspiring loyalty, can remind them of their own weakness, their own dependency, their own inability to stand without help. The French philosopher François de la Rochefoucauld observed, "We are more concerned about the return we make for favors shown us than about the favors we show others." The person you help might smile in public, but deep inside, they may feel the sting of pride wounded. This is why kindness often backfires. The invisible debt you never mentioned becomes a silent weight on the relationship. They either avoid you to escape the feeling of owing you, or they turn against you to even the scales in their own mind. In time, you begin to notice the irony. Those you helped the most are often the ones who drift away or turn cold. Not because you wronged them, but because they cannot bear the mirror your kindness holds up to their life. The lesson? Give freely, but without attachment to outcomes. Expecting loyalty in return for kindness will only invite disappointment. And when you help, do so in a way that preserves dignity, yours and theirs. For sometimes, the smallest kindness that doesn't wound pride is better than the grandest gift that makes someone feel small. Chapter 4. The Erosion of Self-Respect. There is a dangerous point in a kind person's life when their kindness is no longer about others. It's about fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of conflict. Fear of being disliked. When this happens, kindness stops being a choice and becomes a survival strategy. You say yes when you want to say no. You smile when you want to frown. You agree to things that eat away at your peace simply because you don't want to risk someone's disapproval. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius warned, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." Living only to please others is not living at all. It is a slow, silent death of the self. The more you condition yourself to avoid confrontation through kindness, the more you betray your own values. And each time you betray yourself, your self-respect erodes. You stop seeing yourself as someone worth defending. You start to believe that other people's comfort is more important than your own truth. Here's the hidden danger. The world can sense when you no longer value yourself. And when people see that you are willing to discard your own needs to keep them happy, they will, consciously or unconsciously, discard you too. Kindness, when it costs you your self-respect, is no longer kindness. It is self-abandonment. And self-abandonment is a silent killer of the soul. The way forward is not to harden your heart, but to pair your compassion with courage. To say, I care for you, but I will not harm myself to protect you. This is not selfishness. This is the balance that allows kindness to remain a virtue instead of becoming a weapon against yourself. Chapter 5. The magnet for manipulators. When you are naturally kind, you radiate a certain energy, an openness, a readiness to help, a willingness to see the best in people. This energy is like sunlight for the good-hearted, but it is also like blood in the water for predators. The manipulator's greatest weapon is not brute force, it's patience. They study you quietly. They notice the way you hesitate to say no. They see how quickly you offer help, even before someone asks. They learn your patterns, your desire to avoid conflict, your need to feel useful, your habit of assuming the best in others. The philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions." To a manipulator, your kindness is not a virtue, it is an entry point. They will begin with small requests, testing your limits. Once they see there is no real resistance, they will escalate. Not always with demands, but with guilt, flattery, or the unspoken assumption that you owe them. The most dangerous manipulators will even mirror your kindness back to you in the early stages, creating the illusion of reciprocity. But over time, you will notice the balance tipping. You give more, they give less. You carry the load, they take the credit. The tragedy is that the very qualities that make you lovable to genuine souls, empathy, patience, generosity, make you profitable to those with darker intentions. The lesson is not to stop being kind, but to sharpen your ability to read patterns. Trust should be earned, not given wholesale. Kindness should be shared, but only with those who have shown they value it. Otherwise, you are like a merchant giving away gold coins to strangers, wondering why you are left with nothing. Chapter 6. Carrying the weight of other people's responsibilities. Kindness has a subtle way of making you a volunteer for burdens that are not yours. It starts with helping just this once. A friend is late on their work deadline. You cover for them. A family member is in a financial bind. You pay their bills. A coworker feels overwhelmed. You take their share of the load. At first, it feels like you're doing the right thing. After all, isn't that what good people do? But over time, something dangerous happens. The people around you start adjusting their lives under the assumption that you will handle the fallout. The ancient philosopher Confucius said, "He who will not economize will have to agonize." And when you constantly rescue others from the consequences of their own choices, you remove the incentive for them to grow, learn, or change. You absorb the agony that was meant to be their teacher. This doesn't just harm them, it destroys you. Your time is no longer your own. Your finances, your energy, your mental space, all of it becomes collateral for problems you didn't create. And the cruel irony? The more you carry for them, the less they appreciate it. Help becomes expected. Sacrifice becomes invisible. In the worst cases, This habit can turn you into what psychologists call an enabler, someone who makes it easier for another person to continue their unhealthy patterns, simply because you are afraid to let them face hardship. Here is the bitter truth. If you keep taking responsibility for other people's lives, you will eventually lose control of your own. You cannot live 2, 3, or 10 lives at once without burning yourself to ashes. True kindness is not about carrying someone forever. It is about helping them carry themselves. Sometimes, the most compassionate thing you can do is to step back and let the weight rest where it belongs. Chapter 7. The slow death of your own dreams. When you are constantly pouring into others, you begin to notice something. Your own dreams quietly wither. Not because you no longer want them, but because you no longer have the time, energy, or focus to pursue them. It starts subtly. You cancel your writing time because someone needs to talk. You skip your workout to help a coworker meet a deadline. You put off your savings plan to lend money that will never return. Each decision feels small, even noble. But like drops of water falling on stone, they erode you slowly and silently. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer wrote, "Compassion is the basis of morality." And while that is true, compassion without balance can turn into a moral trap, one where you live everyone else's life but your own. This is the paradox. You began your acts of kindness believing they were expressions of love, but slowly they became acts of self-abandonment. Your calendar belongs to everyone else. Your energy is a currency others spend without asking. Your dreams, the very things that give you life, become delayed, then postponed, then forgotten. The most tragic part? The people you sacrificed for will rarely pause to notice what it cost you. Not because they are evil, but because you trained them to see you as always available. And here is the truth you must face. The death of a dream is not always a loud, dramatic event. Sometimes, it is the quiet burial that happens while you're busy taking care of everyone else. True kindness must include kindness to yourself. If your generosity costs you the future you desire, it is not noble. It is a slow, polite form of self-destruction. Chapter 8. The disrespect you invite. There is a cruel irony in human behavior. The more freely you give, the less people tend to value what you give. This is not because kindness is worthless. It is because human beings often confuse rarity with worth. When your time, attention, and help are always available, people stop treating them as treasures and start treating them as background noise. They begin to take your presence for granted, and with that, respect begins to fade. The Roman philosopher Seneca warned, "A benefit consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver." But here's the problem. Intention is invisible. People see the action, not the sacrifice behind it. And when they see that action repeated without limit, they start believing it costs you nothing. This is how the disrespect begins. They interrupt you because you don't mind. They cancel plans without apology because you'll understand. They make last-minute demands because you always come through. The danger is not just external. It seeps into your own mind. You begin to see your own time and needs as less important than theirs. You internalize the very disrespect you receive until you treat yourself the same way they do. The lesson is clear. If you want to maintain respect, you must place value on your kindness. When something is rare, it is treasured. When it is limitless, it is dismissed. Your kindness should be like a fine wine, offered on special occasions to those who will savor it, not poured endlessly into every passing glass.